What it is, it's your girl Cadillac. I'm Cadillac Dixon. I'm the Draw My Life Prison Wife. I'm the legally blind artist that is rapping and painting for justice, hoping to see justice before it all fades to black. Yeah, it's your girl Cadillac. Anyways, coming through on November the 29th. It is, dang, it's already 10:30. Feels like I just got off of work. But I'm on my other grind, my real reason and purpose. Part of it, this YouTube channel. So we're going to finish reviewing my older videos from this channel just so you can see where this channel came from and where it is now. Like, girl, just see the background, the journey. Okay, so 2 years ago, I released something called In the Storm. It's a prison wife story time. Y'all know I work for the man at Wally World. Yes, the man. And that was one of the darkest, lowest of the lowest of the lowest times in my life. I truly hated that job and I hated myself because I worked there. It affected so much of my life and I felt very unfulfilled. We were mistreated. Yes, the workers were being mistreated. And it's like, I don't know, it was just very oppressive. And it felt like my own personal prison, that job. Like it had a hold on me. I'm telling you, it was some type of weird hold. It wasn't like a regular job employee relationship. That ish was crazy. And I thought it was something that I could never break free of. So the way I always express myself is through art. So I drew this picture. I will link it in the description box, the video, and this is called In the Storm. So let's listen to this. I've been working at the Super Center for maybe a 2003. I was 22 years old and I had just been working at the Super Center for maybe a year. The setting is the break room at that Super Center. I was having lunch with my friend at the time. I looked over to the side and I happened to see this male associate walk in the break room door. The guy was just staring at me. I asked my friend, I'm like, girl, what is he looking at? She's like, girl, I don't know. Don't pay him no mind. What was the super weird thing about the whole situation is that another guy was hard down talking to this guy and he wasn't paying him any mind. He was just staring at me. The male associate's eyes was locked in on me. He eventually walks over to me and says, you have a dark cloud over your head. If you could see how... Did you hear what I just said? That man just walked out the blue and told me, you have a dark cloud over your head. Girl, when he told me that, this was so crazy. But let's listen to the rest. Puzzled I looked, like the puzzled look on my face. I said, what? In the most confused way I could. He repeated, there's a dark cloud over your head. Then he said, you can't stay here. Now I'm like, what is this guy here playing over my food and I'm trying to eat? It's lunchtime. What? He said, you cannot stay here, but don't be scared because once you go, the one thing that you always wanted in life, you're going to have. If you truly know me, you know what that one thing or one person is. After the male associate made that statement, he left and went about his business. Me and my friend continued eating. I was so weirded out. Like, what the heck? I caught up with the guy a little later on that night while he was stocking the dairy items in the cooler. I asked him, what did he mean by that when he said, I couldn't stay here? And then a dark cloud? Huh? Where is here? Is here the Super Center? Is it the city I'm in? Is it Florida? Where the freak is here? I asked the male associate. He finally replied to my rants of questions. He said he was in the spirit earlier and he can't actually tell me now what he meant because now he's not in the spirit at this moment. He did say, when you get to the point in your life, that point you will know what here is. I believe I know now. Here was the super center. I couldn't stay here. That place had been a real roadblock in my life, a major detour, if you will. But there was good news in the prophecy. He continued on, don't be scared to leave. Once you do the one thing you thought that you could never have, you're going to have. He also went on to say that my drawings would be seen all over the world. Could it be that was the beginning? The prophecy of Project Reach the World?
And girl, they have been definitely seen all over the world. So let me see. I'm not editing, so I'm gonna try to zoom in with my camera on the frame that I drew to accompany that story. Okay, so there it is. That's the break room at Wally World. That was me and a friend, well, an associate of mine. We're sitting down having lunch. There's the dark cloud that he told me was over my head. And there's the gentleman walking in. And the other guy that I explained was hard down talking to him. He wasn't even paying him no mind. He was up there just staring at me. And then after that I drew a frame of this. So after doing that, basically, I told y'all in 2020, I was hard down just watching Ro Clausen, and then ended up starting to watch Christina Randall real heavy. Those are YouTubers that had Ro Clausen was a prison wife. Christina Randall did time in Florida DLC, and she was getting out and she was telling story times at that time about things that go on in prison and stuff like that. And it's like I really could relate to those stories or whatever. So I was heavy watching those two people. And in the midst of it, they started showing me someone named Jessica Kent. Okay, Jessica Kent happened to be, I don't know exactly where she's from, but she did time in Arkansas, and she's now in Chicago. Now, anything that has to do with Chicago, y'all already know that attracts me because I love Chicago. Yes. I moved away when I was a little girl, and I always had this soft spot in my heart for Chicago. I love to visit. I don't think I ever lived there again. But I love to visit, love the food, love the art, love the zoo, love the everything was bigger and better. I love the Six Flags, that not really in Chicago, but close. I love the museums. I love Chicago. So when I seen that she was from there, it just intrigued me. That was one thing that connected me to her. And then also the fact that she was in prison and telling story. Now, her hardest story was that how she gave birth in prison. And then they took her daughter away from her. She wanted, first they were supposed to just take her daughter, but the nurse kind of, not the nurse, I'm sorry, the guard kind of had compassion on her, didn't just see her as a inmate, and was like, oh my gosh, like she wanted to give her more time with her daughter. So she said that she needed more medical care, so she got a little bit more time with her daughter, and then her daughter was taken from her. And because she was locked up in a state that she did not live in, her mother, they didn't have enough money for her to go out there and get the baby. So the baby ends up being taken from her. She gets out of prison and she vows that she is going to get her daughter back. She starts making YouTube videos and it takes off. I'm telling y'all, YouTube can change people's lives. If it can change their lives, girl, This YouTube can work. It can free Marcello. I just need more support, and I need the actual support that's willing to help make a change. Because really, all it takes is a lot of people doing just a little bit, and this story can get heard. So life can change, and she showed that. She got off of substances. She talks a lot about being on substances and how people are treated and how they are people. They hurt people, but they don't mean to hurt people. It's just something that just has a hold of them. And she's clean. She has her child back. She has a new relationship, and she also got had another child. Okay, so that was very like inspiring to me. And she did something that almost all the YouTubers were doing way back in the day, which was draw my life video. That's where you tell your life stories and you draw little frames of each segment. So I took it way too far. I said, okay, I'm going to draw these frames, and then I didn't like the way I drew it, so I took it to Photoshop. And then I edited, I always have a problem with that word, edited each frame. After I recorded my whole full life, the audio, it was over an hour and something, almost 2 hours long. So I was like, I can't even get nobody to watch a couple minute video. Ain't nobody finna watch a whole freaking goddamn 2 hour almost long video from me. So it ended up giving me the idea to chop it down. And I think it ended up being almost 10 parts to my Draw My Life. I broke it down into segments and released them one by one like that. But I drew every frame in it. It took so long. Like, I don't know why I couldn't just get a dry erase board and just draw the little pictures like everybody else does. I always have to do way too much. I do team way too much. But by me doing more, I never get noticed more. The person that does less gets noticed before I get noticed. But I don't know. It's just something in me. I always have big grand schemes in my mind of how a project is going to be and stuff like that. So I got to learn to do less and get more payback for less than to do more and not get payback. So it literally took me weeks to edit that, to record. I edited the audio back then. I used to edit the audio. Then I edited all the frames in Photoshop. Then I had to put it all together in Premiere Pro, export it, upload it. Took hours and hours and hours. So it was a lot. So there it is, Draw My Life Part 1, 2, inspired by Jessica Kent. 3, Visitation Blues, that's something else. But Part 4, Mama, I Wanna Dance. Then I got where's Part 5? Anyways, it goes on and on and on, right? So I got into the Draw My Lives. So let's go to the first one and just listen to a bit of it.
I had a lot in common with her that I see stemming from kind of being like an outcast and things like that. So I was really
Talking about
inspired to
Jessica
go
Kent.
ahead and finally do my own Draw My Life. I figured that would be a great way to introduce myself. You know, my YouTube is kind of new. I mean, it is, but it isn't new. I've been on YouTube forever, really,
Since YouTube
like
started.
2008. I had an old YouTube, and then I restarted again in 2013, and
That long,
kind of
guys.
just, went back and forth a couple of times, random years posting stuff. But this year I'm relaunching it, so I'm gonna call it a baby channel. Well, I know it's a baby channel because I hardly got any subscribers. I hardly got any, likes or shares or anything, which is cool. Everything is a learning and growing process. So hopefully soon that will change. If you support your girl, please subscribe.
So let's
Please tell
go.
others. He said that was the thing that everyone did.
Oh,
So
hold
he
on.
moved to Chicago. Now
Now
it
this
shows
is,
my mom and my
here it
dad.
is, the
My
beginning.
mother is from Chicago, Illinois, and my father is from Lexington, Mississippi. They met because my dad, the end thing at that time was to move from the South to north somewhere or Midwest, just get out of the South. So he said that was the thing that everyone did. So he moved to Chicago. Now, he met my mother at a restaurant called Pine Valley. My aunt owns a restaurant still in Chicago named Pine Valley. Yes. And it is on the west side of Chicago. And the best food.
Okay.
The best food.
Since then, it's shut down.
Like
she retired and she came and moved with us for a while, but now she's back in Chicago. That food is so
great. If you are in Chicago area, I'm sure you know of Pine Valley. But anyway, so my mother was a waitress at Pine Valley. I think all my aunts worked at Pine Valley as well. I've heard everybody from my mother's side of the family actually went and got a job at Pine Valley. So my dad meets my mother there. I don't quite know that whole story, but I do know
Let me
Mom
show y'all
told me a while
that
back, a long
picture.
time ago. I think I was a teenager. That my dad had put that song "Too Hot" on the jukebox, and he played that for her, and I guess that was a wrap.
See, there it is. My dad. He had this little afro. My mom with her little mushroom cut, and then they ended up meeting each other in Chicago, Illinois. Then later, they got married, 1980. Here I come, 1981. And then there they go. They moved from Chicago to Florida later in the 80s. So I got part 2 that tells about my childhood, being the only black student in the school and being picked on and this and that and all types of stuff, going to middle school and be thrown into an all black school and still not fitting in when I should have fit in since everybody was black just like me. But so I didn't fit in the all white school or the all black school. So, girl, I just didn't fit in. Like, I was made fun of on both sides. So I go through that, and then I get to part 3. Now, this is where it gets into me being grown and going through all that stuff with Marcello. I met the love of my freaking life. Yes. And here's the story behind this.
So in August, I get this call, and it's March. My daughter was born. My daughter was born in June. So in August, I get this call, and it's Marcello, and he's like, "This red band on my arm," like he's crying. I'm like, "Red band? What's a red band?" He's like, "They got this red band on my arm." And I'm like, "What is it?" Like, I don't understand. When I asked him, "What does the red band say?" He said, "It says life or death."
And that's where my little intro came in. So that started this whole downhill spiral in my life in 2001. That story time is kind of dramatic. Yes, that one, I think I did a really good job in portraying the emotions in that.
Mother, I have helped raise my little sisters, but I didn't know about being a mother. It's always different.
Let me show y'all that picture of money I drew.
But
2001, I had money.
didn't know what I was going to do as a new mother. But I did know that that child came 1st. No matter what, that child comes first.
Yeah.
I would say about 2 months later, because it was in August. My daughter was born in June. So in August, I get this call, and it's Marcello. And he's like, "This red band on my arm," like he's crying. I'm like, "Red band? What's a red band?" He's like, "They got this red band on my arm." And I'm like, "What is it?" Like, I don't understand When I asked him, what does the red band say? He said, it says life or death.
So there's that picture.
It says life or death. And I'm like, what? What are you talking about? Where are you? And that's when he told me he was in jail. Oh
Hmm.
my God.
My life changed in an
And
instant.
that's where this roller coaster ride for me really began at that moment. Ended up, he was able to.
We were on one track to somewhere else, and it was like hitting a boom, like the iceberg they hit in Titanic or some type of huge, and boom, was hit off course, and now we're heading in that direction completely, the whole opposite way of what we planned. Man, we planned to be a family. He was so in love with money. He was the best father that I could ever want for money. He was attentive. He was in her life. He was contributing. He loved me. I loved him. It's just, dang, it just was so perfect. And it was just, boom, that's gone. Now you're on this road, this prison wife road, like forever and ever and ever and ever and ever and ever. Like, girl, like if he wasn't so amazing for those years, those couple years, then dang, I couldn't have rode this long, dark road that long. That love, you got to think about it. That love had to have been that amazing to stay and fight for 21 years. Yes.
And that's where this roller coaster ride for me
Up and
really
down.
began at that moment. Ended up, he was able to get out on bond. His bond was really high, but I'll tell that story in another, story
Mm.
time or something. But I actually was able to bond him out, and he was on house arrest the first year of my daughter's life. And he was such a great father. Like, I used to go to work. It was hard for him to find work at that time because he had just got out of jail. But we used to
Mm-hmm.
go like hitting the pavement. I wasn't really happy at my job anymore, so I wanted a better job. And he was trying to find a job. So we used to spend so much time just looking for jobs. And we tried everything. Like, we tried these get rich quick schemes, like
And he
everything.
would be
The
right there with
get
me.
rich quick realtor stuff. Then it was the
Carlton
envelope
sheets. I
stuffing.
don't know
We
if
tried
anybody
that,
remember
where they
that, but
pay
we
you
was
for
doing that
stuffing so
Carlton
many
sheets thing.
envelopes. Then it was this thing where you make these little miniature jewelry boxes for doll
Yes, we
houses,
were gonna
and for
make it
each
no
one you
matter what. We
complete,
were
they would
gonna
give you
find
this
some way
kit,
to come
and
up.
each one you
Yes.
complete, you would get paid for it. And we just tried
Mm-hmm.
everything, everything we could think of, and nothing too much kicked off. Eventually, he started
No.
working construction with my dad, like closer to the time that he went to jail. Anyway, he goes to court, and that's also another story time.
Mm-hmm.
He goes to court. We're thinking, he's going to get through this, and he doesn't. The judge gives him 40 years. He
40
does have
years.
6 charges. They ran.
40 years. Nobody can't even say what words I want to say because we on YouTube. Nobody outed. Nobody hit with a weapon. Nobody hurt in any manner in 40 years. They charged him with a weapon. So this is how it was escalated up. Marcello, even whether he was guilty or not guilty of the crime, should have only been charged no more than 10 years. But they were able to escalate the charges up because they said a weapon was involved, but they never produced a weapon. They claimed they couldn't find it. So in cases you can just say, hey, there was a weapon. It's just word of mouth. So that's just taking word of mouth. The weapon is basically hearsay because they say they never recovered the weapon, which I have a video. If you would take the time to watch it, I proved that there couldn't have been a weapon in Marcello's case. And if there were a weapon in his case, there is no possible way the authorities couldn't have found it, because it would have to have been right there if all of the things that they say were true. See, they got themselves caught up in their own lies. When you tell a lie, you don't know all the holes that you're leaving in a story. So when there's too many holes in a story, it doesn't make sense. So they claim that Marcello tried to run. That gave him leeway to discard the weapon, and they were never able to recover it. But if you go by what they're saying, that doesn't make sense, because he never ran. So if he never ran and he was arrested right directly in front of you, there's nowhere that you can discard a weapon that I'm not able to see what you're doing with the weapon if you had it. It's just like now I am in this car and I'm enclosed in a car. I'm enclosed in a car. If I have a weapon in this car and you pull up, you're the police, you park your car right directly in front of me. You order me to get out the car. And I'm getting out the car and you arrest me right in front of you. Where could I discard this weapon? Where? Is there anywhere I could discard it right in front of your face? So if I had a weapon, you have to have it. Why don't you have it? Because you're just saying there's one, just not producing it. That doesn't make sense. You have to have evidence, but no, you really don't. All right, guys, I'm out of time. Hiss your girl Cadillac.